Hello everybody, my name's Caleb, and in today's video we're going to talk about running TypeScript files directly in Node.js with Node 22. As you can see here, I've got a sample project that starts a web server using Node's built-in HTTP web server. I serve up a few different weather endpoints, and then I've also got a demo that spins up a client and calls those endpoints and prints out the results. So let's go ahead and run this TypeScript file directly in the terminal. You can see we're calling node source server index.ts directly. There's no TypeScript compiler here, and there's no transpilation involved. Server started. I'll run the demo, and you can see we got good results back from all of our endpoints there. Now let's talk about what you can't do by default with Node's TypeScript, which is by default, it's only going to use what's called erasable types, or it's only going to support erasable types. So an enumeration is its TypeScript syntax that's not natively JavaScript. What erasable types are basically things like interfaces or types, or most TypeScript syntax is erasable. So it's syntax that Node.js will take out when it sees it. It's kind of like annotations around JavaScript that's already valid. But an enumeration is different. It's syntax that TypeScript added early on that wasn't actually valid JavaScript. So when you add non-erasable types by default, you will see a unsupported TypeScript syntax error. Now, I believe there are flags where you can get Node to actually find enums and change them for you, but we're going to try to code this in a strict sense, so we're going to stick to erasable types only. Now, the runtime error here, of course, it's helpful, but runtime errors in general are something we want to avoid. So what's going to be better is if we can catch this error during like a check step. And that's where I'm going to reach for an alternate JavaScript runtime that includes a bundled TypeScript compiler, and that's Deno. So I've added a Deno.json to this project. I've added a compiler option for erasable syntax only. And then I've added a script in here. It's a shortcut to check. So if I run pnpm run check in this repository, it's going to do a type checking step in which it did find my non-erasable syntax here. And go ahead and take that out and be certain that my code's going to run correctly under Node now without getting that runtime error. In this project, I've also added a few other things that lean on Deno. You can see in my scripts here, I've got shortcuts to all of them. So I've got formatting, format checking, linting, and linting with auto-fixing. I've also used Deno's built-in test framework to write some unit and integration tests, which is super helpful. So as you can see, I've really simplified this project in the sense that I didn't have to go out and install TypeScript compiler or a unit testing framework such as Jest. I've kind of leaned on Deno's batteries included, but I've also enabled this project to run directly with Node. So there's lots of projects out there that maybe need Node compatibility, or maybe they're not ready to switch over to Deno completely for the runtime, but you still want to benefit from the testing or tooling that Deno provides. So we can go ahead and run our tests here. See, unit tests, they test my endpoints and pieces of my client, whereas integration tests are actually going to use a sub process to spin up my server with Node and then hit all of the endpoints. So I was able to run all of those using Deno's test framework. And then of course, there's some niceties to Deno test itself, where it's got built-in IDE integrations and such. So I really think this is a great way to maybe get your feet wet with Deno. Also, capability to run directly in Node if that's what you're used to, or if that's what you want to support without switching over to Deno runtime completely. There's really nice interoperability between the two now that Node has the capability to run TypeScript directly. All of the code for today's video is linked in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to seeing you next time.